Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News. And if you are tuning in, you are probably smarter than the average bear. Thank you always for your comments and discussion. Thanks for hanging with me on the live stream yesterday through all the trials and tribulations and technical problems. So hopefully, Fridays should go a lot smoother since I kind of figured it out on the fly, and now I know kind of what I'm doing. I don't know. There seems to be, obviously a lot happening this week in terms of climate change news. The amazing amount of attention that Greta Thunberg is getting. Not just on YouTube, but on all over my social media. She broke through. She punched through the complacency. She punched through the lack of coverage by, she even punched through on mainstream media. She was all over mainstream media, and obviously, the right is totally attacking her and calling her crazy and insane, and I don't know what to say about that other than people really, more so on the right than on the left, but people just really lack the context to even understand climate change. There were a few people on the right on my Facebook timeline, that just don't even, they don't have the wherewithal. They just don't have the perspective or the wherewithal or the context to even comprehend what climate change means to them and what it might mean to live in another world affected by climate change. It's interesting. I've been wanting to bring this up for a long time, and maybe I did in the past, and I apologize if I did bring it up and I'm repeating myself, but I'll repeat myself. A few years ago, there was like a photo essay I saw of North Korea, and kind of the subtext of it. They were just like, this is what North Korea looks like, how people are living in North Korea, and the subtext was, these poor people living underneath this, totalitarian regime. Isn't communism a terrible thing? Totalitarian communism, how horrible it must be. But what I noticed, the first thing that I noticed in all of these pictures was the lack of billboards and advertising and marketing and just junk. It was every picture of, in a urban setting was devoid of the just insane bells and whistles that American or European or Western civilization is, right? We're just bombarded with noise and, hey, come buy this, and look, just people hawking their wares and like constantly, constant attention seeking and constant, distractions. And, I looked at these pictures and, probably the same might go for, something you might see when people do like photo exposés of Cuba, right? It's just it's devoid of, unless you're in like the middle of Havana or something, it's like devoid of all the clutter that you might encounter in the West. And I actually saw that as like, look how wonderful and simple, obviously you don't want to live under a totalitarian, overlord. That's not something you really want to do. But beyond that, how simple and unencumbered their lives were, right? Where most people might see like, oh, where's all the stuff? I saw, look how beautiful it looks without all this junk. And so, I just saw something totally different in it than most people in the West or most people might see in that story. And I'm just saying this to say, most people just don't even understand what it might mean to live without all that stuff. I mean, we have been, obviously, and I'll say it again, brainwashed, propagandized, conditioned, and told that this is the way to live and there's no other way. And this is, of course, the fault of our media and our leaders and our unwillingness to convey, real messages about this, real science, real information to the general public. And, now we've created a really big mess as far as trying to get people to understand what the heck is going on. I mean, literally to the right, Greta Thunberg looks like a complete alien. Like they just, they don't even, what she's talking about. They're just like, she looks like a complete raving lunatic to them, unknowingly, they are the raving lunatics. They are they are completely, not even able to understand what's going on. And they think this is all a hoax or a joke or just something, that these blithering lunatic lefties are going on about, and it's really, it's sad. It's unfortunate. And it's an embarrassing place for our society to be in right now. I mean, you could be upset at the right. You could be pissed off. You could be pissed off at the leaders, pissed off at the media. But it's just really an embarrassing place for the human race right now. We're, to a lot of, obviously to people who understand what's going on. I mean, we're beyond reprehensible, and we are truly deplorable as a society in that we can't, not only have we not conveyed the message that needed to be conveyed, but we can't even, now people can't even take this information in. Anyways, just going to get to some climate change news. Yesterday something went on that I didn't know was going to be as serious as it got, and that's the fact that it got that serious is pretty cool. Climate change protesters shut down Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. During a climate change protest on Monday, a group of activists blocked traffic, effectively shutting down a major Hollywood intersection. According to ABC7, the demonstrators forced Sunset Boulevard to be closed down at Cahuenga as part of a planned event for the social political group Extinction Rebellion. The Los Angeles Police Department reported to the scene and deemed it a peaceful protest. No arrests were made, although the protest was reportedly not permitted. So this is an interesting thing because they didn't have a permit. They blocked traffic, and the police were like, do your thing. Very interesting. This is from a Twitter post. Update, LAPD report Extinction Rebellion did not have a permit to protest in Hollywood. Officers allowing rally for climate change to continue and have closed Sunset in front of CNN West Coast Bureau. No arrests. Bully for the Los Angeles Police Department for, I guess allowing this to go on, or maybe this is just some super smart reverse psychology. Like if we just, let it go on and don't freak out about it and don't arrest people, then, maybe nobody will notice this is happening. Extinction Rebellion was founded in 2018 as an international movement meant to stop mass extinction, quote unquote, and minimize the risk of social collapse through the use of peaceful civil disobedience. As part of an ongoing protests taking place in September and October, the movement has organized a series of demonstrations all over the world. Extinction Rebellion took to Instagram to announce the day's protests would take place, saying, "This is not a drill. We are living at the beginning of a mass extinction. Our climate is breaking down, but we can still fix this. You can still fix this. We need everybody now to take to the streets." So what I saw, advertised for this was an Extinction Rebellion block party, right? They were just, basically that's what it was called. We're going to have a block party. So I assumed that they meant they were just kind of hanging out and that they were actually going to have a block party. But what they meant was we're going to shut the traffic down and have a block party. Block party. So, yeah. Good on Extinction Rebellion Los Angeles for making that happen. Last Friday, Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg inspired teens all over the world to organize and protest as a response to global political establishment that continues to scoff at the threat of climate change. At the United Nations General Assembly on Monday, Thunberg spoke about the existential threat of climate change, scolding attendees, saying, "We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?" And lastly, I want to cover this article by George Monbiot. For the sake of life on Earth, we must put a limit on wealth. Again, anybody on the right or anybody, even neoliberal Democrats, just head exploding. What limit on what? On wealth? Just no context whatsoever for how to understand this. But, you know, George Monbiot is a good writer, so he will hopefully make his case for this. This is from September 19th. It's not just the mega rich. Increased spending power leads us all to inflict environmental damage. It's time for a radical plan. It is not quite true that behind every great fortune lies a great crime. Musicians and novelists, for example, can become extremely rich by giving other people pleasure, but it does appear to be universally true that in front of every great fortune lies a great crime. Immense wealth translates automatically into immense environmental impacts, regardless of the intentions of those who possess it. The very wealthy, almost as a matter of definition, are committing ecocide. A few weeks ago, I received a letter from a worker at a British private airport. "I see things that really shouldn't be happening in 2019, he wrote. Every day he sees Global 7000 jets, Gulfstream G650s, and even Boeing 737s take off from the airport carrying a single passenger, mostly flying to Russia and the U.S. The private Boeing 737s, built to take 174 passengers, are filled at the airport with around 25,000 liters of fuel. That's as much fossil energy as a small African town might use in a year. Where are these single passengers going? Perhaps to visit one of their super homes, constructed and run at vast environmental cost, or to take a trip on their super yacht, which might burn 500 liters of diesel an hour just ticking over, and which is built and furnished with rare materials extracted at the expense of beautiful places. Perhaps we shouldn't be surprised to learn that when Google convened a meeting of the rich and famous at the Verdura resort in Sicily in July to discuss climate breakdown, its delegates arrived in 114 private jets and a fleet of mega yachts and drove around the island in supercars, even when they mean well, the ultra-rich cannot help trashing the living world. A series of research papers shows that income is by far the most important determinant of environmental impact. It doesn't matter how green you think you are. If you have surplus money, you spend it. The only form of consumption that's clearly and positively correlated with good environmental intentions is diet. People who see themselves as green tend to eat less meat and more organic vegetables, but attitudes have little bearing on the amount of transport, fuel, home energy, and other materials you consume. Money conquers all. The disastrous effects of spending power are compounded by the psychological impacts of being wealthy. Plenty of studies show that the richer you are, the less you are able to connect with other people. Wealth suppresses empathy. One paper reveals that drivers in expensive cars are less likely to stop for people using pedestrian crossings than drivers in cheap cars. Another revealed that rich people were less able than poorer people to feel compassion towards children with cancer. Though they are disproportionately responsible for our environmental crisis, the rich will be hurt less and last by planetary disaster, while the poor are hurt first and worst. The richer people are, the research suggests, less such knowledge is likely to trouble them. Another issue is that wealth limits the perspectives of even the best-intentioned people. This week, Bill Gates argued in an interview with the Financial Times that divesting, ditching stocks, from fossil fuels is a waste of time. It would be better, he claimed, to pour money into disruptive new technologies with lower emissions. Of course, we need new technologies, but he has missed the crucial point in seeking to prevent climate breakdown. What counts is not what you do, but what you stop doing. It doesn't matter how many solar panels you install if you don't simultaneously shut down coal and gas burners. Unless existing fossil fuel plants are retired before the end of their lives and all exploration and development of new fossil fuel reserves is canceled, there is little chance of preventing more than 1.5 C of global heating. But this requires structural change, which involves intervention as well as technological innovation. Anathema to Silicon Valley billionaires. It demands an acknowledgement that money is not a magic wand that makes all the bad stuff go away. Tomorrow, I'll be joining the global climate strike in which adults will stand with the young people whose call to action has resonated around the world. As a freelancer, I've been wondering who I'm striking against. Myself? Yes. One aspect of myself, at least. Perhaps the most radical thing we can do is to limit our material aspirations. The assumption on which governments and economists operate is that everyone strives to maximize their wealth. And there you go. There's the context, right? Even for people that don't have any money, you know, the game, the rules have been set, and everybody tries really hard to understand what the rules are so they can get better at the game. So when you tell people that the game is the problem, even rich people especially, but even poor people have a problem with that information, right? Because they're like, hold on, my whole life I've been told this is the game, and I've been trying really hard to fit in with this game, and now I'm just I went to college and got a degree, and I just got a kind of a good job, and you're telling me that all of this is going to go away, and none of this is real, and all of this is really the problem. If we succeed in this task, we inevitably demolish our life support systems. Were the poor to live like the rich and the rich to live like oligarchs, we would destroy everything. The continued pursuit of wealth in a world that has enough already, albeit very poorly distributed, is a formula for mass destitution. A meaningful strike in defense of the living world is in part a strike against the desire to raise our incomes and accumulate wealth. Well put, George Monbiot. A desire shaped more than we are probably aware by dominant social and economic narratives. I see myself as striking in support of a radical and disturbing concept. Enough. Individually and collectively, it is time to decide what enough looks like and how to know when we've achieved it. As a name for this approach coined by the Belgian philosopher Ingrid Robbins, limitarianism. Okay, I like that. Robbins argues that there should be an upper limit to the amount of income and wealth a person can amass. Just as we recognize a poverty line below which no one should fall, we should recognize a riches line above which no one should rise. This call for a leveling down is perhaps the most blasphemous idea in contemporary discourse, of course. But her arguments are sound. Surplus money allows some people to exercise inordinate powers over others in the workplace and politics, and above all, in the capture, use, and destruction of the planet's natural wealth. If everyone is to flourish, we cannot afford the rich. And I don't even know what flourish means. Flourish in what way? Nor can we afford our own aspirations, which the culture of wealth maximization encourages. The grim truth is that the rich are able to live as they do only because others are poor. There is neither the physical nor ecological space for everyone to pursue private luxury. Instead, we should strive for private sufficiency, public luxury. Life on Earth depends on moderation. This article was amended on September 19th to remove an inaccurate reference to the world's most expensive super yacht. Well done, George Monbiot, as always. Yeah, I mean, like, I think personally, so on a very deep level, I don't care about being rich, and I don't care about pursuing wealth, and I don't care about, my main concern in life right now is, I'm always just barely paying my bills. I'm always, on the hamster wheel of, which a lot of people are on the hamster wheel of debt and paying for uh, just sustainability in their lives. And it's kind of frustrating, and it can be a little tiring. But then again, I actually enjoy not having any money because, excess, having discretionary income would allow me to do many more things that probably don't matter in the long run and are probably harmful to the environment, right? So my poverty level, or whatever it is, kind of keeps me in check, and I'm constantly deciding what I can afford to buy, and I like it. I actually like that. If I'm honest with myself and with the world, I like being so just poor enough that I have to really mull over. I really have to make a decision about what it is that I really need to buy. Do I really need this thing? And the more discretionary income I have, the less I think about that. The more I'm just like, I can, if I have to wait a couple weeks and really think about something that I want to get, even if it's, some kitchenware or, some equipment for my studio, like I really have to think about it. And sometimes I come to this decision that it's really not necessary. We really should. That's how we all should be living. Like, we should really be taking everything that we take into our lives. It should be a big decision. We should really be thinking about it. But we live in a world where it's like, if you need something, and if you have the money, you just go and do it. Just go do it. Somehow we need to change the narrative around that. Like, no, don't just go do it. Just because you have the money. Don't take that cruise just because you have the money. Don't, whatever it is, buy the exercise machine just because you have the money. The exercise machine that you're going to use 5 times and then put in the garage. Like millions of other people who have bought exercise machines and put in the garage. I'm not against people using exercise machines, but, you can go to a gym and do that. Or you can put on some shoes and just go on the street and run. You can just do sit-ups, you can do push-ups, you can get a bicycle, you can go, whatever. There's millions of ways to do it for way cheaper, than buying a hugely expensive exercise machine or some piece of equipment that I did it to myself last year. I bought a juicer because I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to do this juicing thing and it's so healthy. And I hardly use that thing ever at all. Now I feel like an absolute chump because I bought this juicer. Now I feel like I'm forced, I feel guilty every time I look at it and I haven't used it in a week or two. So, it's good to ponder those purchases long and hard. And also, I think what I'm going to do this year, institute in my own personal life, is I'm going to ban all gift giving towards me for like birthdays and Christmas. So I actually haven't told my family this yet, but I'm going to do it this week because my birthday's coming up. So no gifts. Please don't give me any gifts. Whatever. If you want to give me, a couple bucks, that's fine. I don't really care about that. Give me some food and some cake. Tell me happy birthday. I don't need a card. No gifts. Because some gifts are really great and I appreciate it. I appreciate the thoughtfulness, but some gifts, it's like, I love the thoughtfulness, and those gifts may or may not ever get used. Or sometimes I put those gifts in a closet somewhere and I never see them again. So, no gifts. That would be a great thing for a lot of people to institute, because gift giving is such a human, like, knee-jerk thing to do. Like, if you don't give gifts or don't bring something to a, housewarming, or don't, if you don't give gifts, you're unthoughtful. Well, no, actually it's the other way around. If you don't give gifts, you're being thoughtful to the planet. Like, just stop with the knee-jerk gift giving and gift buying. It's great. It's a really nice gesture, but, with 8 billion people on the planet, that whole, like, ritual needs to just go away. Like, it needs to stop today. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.